we followed your ABC data collection chart with the times.
Oh, good.
On, and that's as far as we got.
No, that's good, and I apologize that we have not had a lot of time for this, but very good. All right, so you would use the ABC data collection for that teacher?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, because it's not that much, so it's not like it's happening 63 times in 30 minutes. I love how you started with the strengths. You were listening. Very good. All right. Any ideas what you do with the student once you found out?
No.
Oh, okay.
15 minutes.
I know. I apologize. Here's my hypotheses that I came up with. Sensory needs might not being met for a student who has autism. Kids on the spectrum tend to have a lot of sensory needs, and occupational therapists were trained in sensory needs. I personally was not trained. I've gotten all my training post-graduation by taking classes and finding out. It wasn't anything that was offered at the pre-service level. This child needs some control over some part of the day. I like how you said they were proud. They need some modeling. So here's some interventions, a sensory diet. And I have to tell you, one state I was in, I said that at a behavior support team. I said, I think the child might need a sensory diet. And the OT said, I think they eat really well. I was like, oh, okay. A visual schedule, PowerPoint relationship narratives. And I'm going to show you an example of that. And a token economy paired with a PowerPoint for replacement behavior. So I'm going to show you both of those. My husband and I chose to live with an adult who had autism. There's his picture. Whoops. This is Jay. Jay was 41 years old when he passed away. Jay had autism, bipolar condition, obsessive compulsive disorder, intellectual disabilities, and mild cerebral palsy. And so I do love someone who has autism. He lived with our family for 10 years and was very much a part of our family. And one of the things that we found when working with autism, and when you pair autism with any other disability, you're dealing with a lot of different things that we need to put in place for this student. And unfortunately, most kids with autism are not just autism, it's autism and something else. I mean, very few have I met where it's just autism. Lots of other things going on. Some fun books for you to read. These are not books to read to kids, especially this one. It's about an adulterous affair and a dog that gets murdered, so not to read to kids. But The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. He talks about like the young man is looking at this dog that was murdered, and he's standing there observing the body and trying to think, how did this dog come to be dead? Well, the lady that owned the dog had called the police, and the police come upon him and think he's the perpetrator because he's standing over the dead dog, and so they say, freeze! And he turns around and he says, actually, according to the Farmer's Almanac, it's not going to freeze until October 21st. And so this is written from the viewpoint of a 15-year-old male with Asperger's syndrome, which is part of the spectrum. And so they take everything literally. But it gives you great insight. Like he believed if he saw 3 red cars and 2 yellow cars on the way to school, he was going to have a great day. But if he saw 2 green cars and 1 brown car on the way to school, it was going to be a horrible day. And because of self-fulfilling prophecy, guess what would happen? He would have a horrible day. So it's just a really good book to read. It gives you insight into how you might think if you had Asperger's syndrome. Born on a Blue Day was written by Daniel Tammet. He is an autistic savant. You guys have heard of Daniel Tammet. He's known as the human computer. He can recite pi to 32,000 places from memory. I taught secondary math in 3.14, did me fine my whole life. But he can recite it. He's also the guy that writes the code for Rosetta Stone. He taught himself, yeah, you've seen that. He taught himself 17 different languages, and he has autism. He sees people as numbers and colors. To him, David Letterman is the number 9, and he explains in his book how he associates numbers with everything and colors with everything. And this is the funniest book, Look Me in the Eye by John Elder Robison. One of the things that parents of children on the spectrum will say to their children a lot is, look me in the eye. And this guy grew up his whole life never knowing that he had Asperger's syndrome. This is Augustine Burroughs' brother. They changed their names. So if you've read any of the Augustine Burroughs books, very funny. He was in his 40s when he found out he had Asperger's syndrome. He said he never understood why it would be important to look at anybody's eyes because no words are coming out of anyone's eyes. Why should I look there? So, it just kind of explains a lot. This is the guy that made the rockets that come out of Kiss's guitars. Awesome. Some of the things that we know that bother kids on the spectrum are lots of loud noises, bright lights. How many of you can hear the humming of the fluorescent lights? Imagine hearing it 10 times louder. Might you go running down the hallway and out the front door of the school? Yeah. We don't realize how much that is not a great deal. So I've got all kinds of ideas about how to block those lights. I'm sorry. It helps to take the lid off. PowerPoint social stories work for lots of kids. How many of you have done PowerPoint social stories? I call them relationship narratives. They're so great because you can put the words at the bottom. This is Molly McFadden. This was a little girl. She was a twin. One twin had autism, tantrums that lasted half a day in the preschool room. We got called in when they were 4. One twin had autism, one twin, perfect normal development, no signs of autism at all. We got Molly's behavior under control in preschool, and then I found out she was moving to an elementary school where there were going to be 800 students in this school, and she's been in this tiny little preschool, so what do I know is going to happen again? Knockdown, drag out. So we made this PowerPoint. Now Molly's really had pictures of Molly in it, but I don't have permission to show you Molly. But this is her real school. There were 3 towers like this on the front of the building. This school was huge. So this was her school. I will go through these doors. So she was going to go through the burgundy doors. Each door was a different color. I will look for the frog flag and turn down that hallway. Now we took these pictures in May, and then she watched it once a day all summer. I have to have assurance that that frog flag's going to be there in May, or this will be the first place Molly lays down on the floor and refuses to move, because I was looking for that frog flag. I will go to my classroom, and the teacher promised me that frog was going to be on the door. I had to convince the principal that I needed to know who the teacher was, because sometimes principals don't want to share that information. I showed him a video of Molly having a tantrum, and I said, this will be your surprise if her teacher is a surprise. So he decided that he could share that information. His eyes were about this big. I had permission from her mom to share it. So then after that, I go through the things that are static, that will stay the same. So hanging up her coat, going to her seat, saying the pledge, and then getting her supplies when the teacher tells her to. But after that, I had 8 different versions of this with these next slides all mixed up, because you don't want Molly to learn that center time always comes before lunch, and so on. So all summer, each day, Mom shows a different version. Because kids with autism get a picture in their head of what they think is going to happen, and if that is not what happens, then this is where we have the tantrum. This is where we will lay down. Jay hardly ever had any behaviors at all, but every once in a while, if he came home from work and people were crowded in the kitchen and he did not have the picture of people crowded in the kitchen, he would have a little meltdown right there. And we learned that if you don't want Jay to have a meltdown when he's coming home from work, disperse the people throughout the house. And then once he figures out people are there, they can all come together and start talking to him, but not him walking in the door and seeing that crowd of people there. So we just went through the whole day, and each one of these pictures was pictures of Molly in these same pictures. You guys, this was her lunchroom. Oh, this was her lunchroom. So we just went through all of this, and then you take nice pictures. Your friends are coming. These are some of the people, and you take nice close-up pictures of all the people that she will see at the school so that she can learn what people look like. And don't forget, like, the custodian, the counselor, the principal, the assistant principal, and don't forget the lady at the front desk. Because sometimes if they're late, they have to go talk to that lady. So these things will help this young lady, student A. And then all the kindergarten teachers. There were 10 kindergarten teachers at this school. And then you end with a happy statement. Molly transitioned so well because she watched that once a day all summer long. Now, when a child like Richie has behavior that you would like to target for change, what you do is make a PowerPoint relationship narrative about that. And I have samples of all of these on my website. Plus, remember, this PowerPoint's on there as well. So Billy was biting during, it's okay, biting, scratching, and hitting. Those were the 3 behaviors. So these are really pictures. We took a Billy biting a vegetable, not a donkey. But I don't have permission to show real kids pictures. It's okay to bite fruit. It's okay to bite sandwiches. It's okay to bite hot dogs. It's okay to bite cheese. It's not okay to bite computers. It's not okay to bite people. Sometimes I get so mad I feel like biting. When that happens, I should go tell my teacher instead. So we're giving that replacement behavior. And I would rather a kid turn into a tattletale than a kid who's biting. So we're going to switch this to tattling or going and telling. Every time he does that, his teacher's going to be proud of him. And see, this kid was proud of, you said he was proud of when he did something good. So this would feed right into that. Every time I go tell my teacher instead of biting, I'm going to earn a bracelet, the little jelly bracelet. When I get 5 bracelets, I get to go to free play first. What's the kid want? Free access to this kid had figured out if I bite somebody, they drop the toy that they're playing with, and I get to play with it until my teacher comes to scold me for biting. I mean, actually, kind of brilliant that he had figured that out. My teacher will be so proud of me, so we took a picture of him with 5 bracelets on his arm. Now, we have run out of time to go through students B, C, and D. And E and F and G and H and I. And I apologize. I tend to start telling stories and get a little carried away. Hopefully you feel like you got a lot of information that you can walk away with today. And know that on the website I have examples for student B and C. So I've got all kinds of ideas that you can use. This is the student teacher rating sheet. You guys, if you haven't used this within 2 weeks typically changes behavior. It's a point sheet, but instead of the teacher giving the kids points, the teacher and the student give themselves points and then get in the middle and match. And if they match, the kid gets that number of points. If they don't match, the kid doesn't earn any points. So they have to start seeing their behavior the same way the adult sees their behavior. And everybody who has used this has seen behavior change in 2 weeks. I mean, I'm not saying the kid's perfect angel in 2 weeks, but they see behavior change in 2 weeks. All the directions for this are on the Forms and Tools page, and it's called the Student Teacher Rating Sheet. And I have a young child version with smiley faces, and all they have to do is color in the smiley face that they think they were. I never use a 0 with kids to talk about their behavior because kids equate zeros with I'm a 0, I'm not worth anything. And I never use sad faces with little kids because little kids equate sad faces with I'm bad, I'm not worth anything. And the minute a kid thinks that, that's exactly how they act. And I explain all that on Student Teacher Rating Sheet. I have a lady that's a sub that takes it every day with her to her new place. She figures out what kid's going to be the issue that day, and she works out a deal with them. The way I do this, the parents pay off at home. I've got a list of 100 free things parents can do to reward their children at home. Some are elementary, some are secondary, and it's in your book that I gave you with all the directions. And it's all parents giving attention, eyeballs to their kids. And the substitute teacher, she takes tangibles because she doesn't have time to work out a deal with the parents. So she takes school supplies, Justin Bieber file folders and sparkly pencils and smelly erasers and stuff like that. And she said it has made being a substitute teacher a wonderful experience. So I have had a lot of fun with you guys today. I'm sorry that we got to the end and I didn't get to go through all the behaviors, but they are on the website. And I know you guys are brilliant at figuring out things that are on the website. I want to recommend one more book. It's called Switch. It's about how to change things when change is hard. And it's about how to get other people to change, other adults to change, which is kind of what you're all hoping for. I just finished it on the airplane, so awesome book. Dan and Chip Heath, H-E-A, like the bar, Heath Bar. Chip Heath and Dan Heath, awesome book. And it all goes with behavior support. I mean, if you think of this from an applied behavior analysis point of view, that's all this book is about changing behavior. I'm going to do a PowerPoint on it because it was so good. Thank you so much for spending the day with me. Email me. My email is caughtyoubeinggood@gmail.com. It should be on the front of something. My website is behaviordoctor.org, and I'll brainstorm with you. And if I left any questions unanswered, which I'm sure I did, be happy to answer them. I wish I could have spent like 6 days with you. Thank you, and drive safe.